begin with the invocation. Again, I request all participants who can please turn on the video feeds because it is easier to interact. And if you do not turn on the video feeds, I cannot do anything. I can only request. Yes, please. So let us begin with the invocation. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhe Bhavatu Me Sada Vasudevam Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. Hariom, Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. Yes, can someone recollect something that we saw last? So we can take it ahead. Begin. Yeah, anybody? Can you recollect something that we saw? So then we can take it ahead. Yes, anybody?
Krishna tells Arjuna that you cannot go without
Krishna tells Arjuna that
Shraddha.
Shraddha
And
is necessary.
you cannot grow without Shraddha.
Okay.
You should not.
Hariom, Venitaji, I think your audio froze. I was not able to hear you.
Secondly, you should not suppress your swabhava.
Okay.
And you should be in sync with your swadharma.
Yes.
Know, listen to your inner voice, which makes Arjuna ask.
Right. Yes. Is it just
that what is
yes.
this? I don't listen.
Ji, Hariom. Is everybody able to hear it, or the screen appears to be frozen at my end for some reason?
We can hear you.
You can hear me.
Ma'ams, we couldn't hear, but we can hear you.
Okay, fine. So maybe Venitaji's internet connection is a little bit probably slower or something for some reason. You can, if you want, try turning off the video feed and then attend that way. Maybe it might be faster. It's up to you, absolutely. So I think Venitaji talks about two things. One is Shraddha being essential, Shraddha being very imperative for going ahead in sadhana. Second is Swadharma. Paradharmo bhayavaha, it is said. Bhayavaha means dangerous or fearful. The greatest danger is letting go of your Swadharma. But throughout our sadhana, we are told not to fear, isn't it? The sadhana is about not fearing. So what is this paradharmo bhayavaha? Can we instill fear in others now because of this shloka? Anybody? Oh, no, Gita is told, so better fear, better fear. What is the reason this particular shloka is there in the Gita? Because so far we have been told to always remain fearless, fearlessly persevere, fearlessly move ahead on the spiritual path. So, what is the provision here? Paradharmo bhayavaha. Anybody? Can you share some input on this? Is it for telling others to fear, or is it for ourselves to be self-conscious? Anybody? Is my question clear?
Hari Om, sir. The
Hari Om,
better
ji.
is to work for oneself, even if we are not perfect, than working for someone else perfectly.
Yes. So our inner voice should be there, isn't it, Ji? Our inner voice, we should listen to it. And this is not for fear mongering, but what happens many times, where does fear mongering come? When person forgets Swadharma. Then that person tries to, out of guilt, they try to hide their guilt and try to put it onto somebody else. So this is something which we have to realize. When your heart is clear, when you're clear on the inside, there's nothing to fear. You know what your Swadharma is, you have to follow it. It is not something like suddenly today I followed, tomorrow I didn't follow. It is a permanent thing because your mind is clear, your Vivek Buddhi is Jagrut, you know what is right, you walk on that path. regularly. So Krishna has introduced that. So with Shraddha, you can find the strength to have a discipline. This is Shraddha. Along with Shraddha comes Saburi, perseverance. Both are always together only. They come along with each other. So Shraddha has to be very, very firm. That is why it is important. And then Krishna talked about Shraddha in the divine. He talked about levels of consciousness. Lowest level of consciousness is the level of the Indriyas. Higher than the Indriyas is the mind, Mana. Higher than the mind is said to be Buddhi or some higher consciousness. We looked at it in various ways. But higher than Buddhi is that Saha or that which is the Supreme Divine. And Krishna said, focus on this Supreme Divine. This will help you become free, free from all actions, free from all karma bandhanas. That is something which Krishna talked, and that is where we completed the third adhyay. Krishna says, this is the enemy that has to be slain, destroy desire for the light of truth to manifest in your life. So from here we enter into the fourth adhyay. What is the first light that we all know? Anybody? The biggest light, greatest light, brightest light? Anyone?
The sun.
Yes, the sun, isn't it? The Surya. So Krishna is first asking, let the light of truth manifest. And now he's going to talk about that light of truth. But is the sun connected to the truth, or sun is just a physical entity? Scientists say, isn't it, a burning mass of a broken star, that is the sun. In our tradition or in Sanatan Dharma, is sun just like that a non-living entity, or it's a conscious, we can say, like a being? Okay, I think Aditi has written that maybe my camera is also frozen. My audio is breaking, is it?
No, actually, your video, if you check
Oh,
it.
oh, my camera has slipped. All right. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Fine. So this Surya or the sun, is it a spiritual entity or just a material physical entity which scientists understand according to our shastras, according to our tradition? Anybody?
We say Surya Deva Namaha. So we bow to the
Surya
sun
Devaya
god.
Namaha. Yes, yes. Udyanadhyamitra Maha Arohan Uttarandivam Rudrogam Mama Surya Harimanancha Nashaya. Means the Surya is going to take away my heart disease also. Now somebody will find it very funny, but my father, who is a anesthesiologist, was told by the doctor to go in the sun and spend this much time working in the sun. Now there, when it comes as a prescription from that side, it sounds very believable. But the Rigvedic Sukta, which talks with Saura Sukta, they call it, there, Rudrogam Mama Surya Harimanancha Nashaya. What does the sun do? Sun is what we can say. We see sun as a very conscious living being. Anybody has heard of a mantra for the sun? Like I think one is the Arpana mantra, which Vidisha, Dr. Vidisha ji shared. But like that, there's considered to be a mantra which people say most powerful mantra, as if they have scales for measuring the intensity of the power of mantra. But this is a very common mantra for the Surya. Anybody?
Gayatri Mantra.
Gayatri
Yes,
Mantra.
it is the Gayatri mantra. So what is it? We're asking that Surya. Boss, I'm wearing sunshades, so give me little less light. No, we're asking for illumination. Illumination of what? Illumination of truth. Truth's light that is symbolic. Sri Aurobindo talked about a sun which is powering the sun. Savita Surya. The physical sun that we see is receiving light from somewhere else. Or if you look at the Gayatri mantra also, Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yona Prachodayat. We are focusing on that Surya, focusing on that Bhagwan Surya or that light of illumination, which will inspire my intellect, which will, like, what does the sun do? In a building, in any building where there's a lot of bright light, what happens there? There are less germs also, isn't it? Directly. The Chaitanya is also there. More light of the sun, more Chaitanya. My friend went to UK. He was so used to the sun in Pondicherry, and now suddenly he is not able to see the sun. he was feeling, he said, I'm getting depressed. He said, I'm only feeling it is just because of not seeing the sun. He went to YouTube and he started seeing videos of the sun. It was very funny. But you see, this is the aspect. Surya is Bhagavan, Surya is a conscious force that we have understood. We know the light of the Surya is functioning everywhere, in plants, in animals, everywhere. Our body's vitamin synthesis also takes place because of sunlight, isn't it? Especially the vitamin B. Now, what we have to recognize is that this Surya is the light of truth. But this Surya is also the light of illumination. It is the Jyoti. This light, Krishna is going to take Arjuna towards it. He says in the next adhyay, which is the fourth adhyay, Krishna says something very remarkable, almost unbelievable. This is also Krishna indicating he is more than just his Sarathi. Divinity of Krishna is slowly becoming visible. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Muni Rikshvaka Vebravit. And his Lordship Shri Krishna spoke. This way of yoga I first taught the sun, who then revealed to Manu, who was the first mortal one. And this knowledge to the first king Ikshvaku, Manu transferred. And thus, in this way, knowledge passed on from the first word. Krishna is saying that I taught the Surya. I taught the supreme truth to the Surya. Surya passed it on to Manu. Manu was the first existence, mortal existence. From Manu, it went to King Ikshvaku. And thus, the knowledge was passed on. What is this knowledge? Is it like a property or some deed registered, passed on from one person to other? What is this? Can we call it consciousness? Can we call it Chaitana? Isn't it? And Shri Krishna is talking about transferring. He said, this I've transferred. How does it sound in our today's life to hear it only? This is a very statement. Anybody? We can be very open and honest. How does it sound? I thought the Surya something. Anyone? It sounds as crazy as saying I am the sun. Isn't it? If I say I'm the sun, it sounds crazy. Sun is so different. Sun emits light, isn't it? I don't emit light, I receive light. I require light to grow. So there's a lot of difference. But if some physicist can tell you that you were actually once upon a time emitting light, when you were part of the Surya. The Surya was also part of a big star, isn't it? And then that star exploded. What happened after that explosion? They call it Big Bang. Don't talk about Brahmanad or don't talk about sound, Om or anything. We will call it a random big sound which broke a star. So that star was broken, and after breaking of star, what happened? Elements started getting formed, different like you can say so many steps of creation. You can say initially in our Taittiriya Upanishad, we have talked about the sequence of elements also. Akashad, Vayur, Agni, Rapa, Adbhya, Prithvi, and then in Prithvi we have so many, all of this. So if you see according to science also, it is something same, isn't it? The evolution started taking place. There was first only hydrogen. Then what we can say fusion took place. So then initial hydrogen atoms and slowly bigger atoms came into existence. Then even oxygen started forming. Hydrogen and oxygen were highly combustible. From that plasma state, this came into existence. Then what happened? Hydrogen and oxygen, two fiery elements came together and became water. Two hydrogen and one oxygen. It all sounds crazy, but sounds believable because we have been taught. We can say we have been indoctrinated in these techniques. But for us, it becomes difficult to visualize how consciousness started from the first place. And Krishna is talking about the origin. He says, I passed it on. The Vedanta talk about it. They say, Ekoham Bahusyami. That is a Mahavakya. I am one. Let me become many. Then suddenly from that inertial stillness, from that ethereal bliss, from a bodiless lips, some sound has come, and that from sound, space is there, space, time, and elements, all of it. Krishna is saying this is how it started. I passed on to the Surya, Surya passed on to Manu, Manu passed on to Ikshvaku, and this was the way, what we can say, this knowledge. And this knowledge is called what? Yog. Yog means what, anybody? What is yog?
Union with divinity.
Union, isn't it? When is union possible, Aditi ji?
When we have realized our Atma.
Okay, and why is it possible? Only because there was a separation, union is possible, isn't it? If separation was not there, union is not possible. So we got separated from that higher consciousness. We forgot we lost that smruti. Ki once upon a time, we were those brilliant stars emitting the light, the same light which we are now seeking for our growth. We were also emitters. So Krishna is trying to, push Arjuna into that higher consciousness directly. He understands this flow of consciousness is there. It is taking place from Surya. This is how it was passed on. But now comes the interesting part. Anybody has played this game called Chinese Whispers? Yes. Anybody? Somebody told me you should not call it Chinese Whisper, but I don't know. I learned it like that only. So we are not trying to. If there is anybody knows a better name for it, you can tell me. Not meaning to offend anybody's nationality also. But it was a nice game. So yes, Vinataji, you were saying something?
One
Yeah.
person said something,
Yeah.
if, said
Into
in
the ear, no? Whispers
the
something.
ear, and then that person has to pass it on to some to the next, so on.
Yeah.
And by the time the last person says, the statement changes sometimes
It's
drastically.
sometimes or always.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Why? Because this is the human nature, isn't it? I think reception is not perfect.
Right.
I think in electricity lines, also in engineering, we had studied transmission losses. When current is flowing, heating losses there are AD loss, different, so many classification of losses. So what about knowledge also? Something similar happened. He passed on to the next passed on to the next. See, evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu kale neha mahata yogo nashtaha parantapa. So what happened? It reached our age and time. From that time, slowly it started getting diluted till yogo nashtaha parantapa. That knowledge was lost. It got passed on from whom? Well, we can say, from King Ikshvaku, the royal sages or the Raja Rishis received it. This tradition was upheld then by the regal sages. And from sage to sage, it was conveyed in succession. Oh, Arjuna, this knowledge that was passed on by the sages with the passage of time got lost in transmission. Means that essence of that knowledge was lost. This happens many times. Sometimes I think in colleges we must have heard the teacher does not want to teach everything to the student. I have to keep my upper hand. This is my area. Otherwise, the student will start challenging me. So let me hide. That's not the right way actually, but it is also in the akhadas also. The guru will not teach all the davs, all the techniques to the one dav the guru will keep to himself because he will want to keep a upper hand over the Pelwan who is learning. Otherwise, he will now immediately beat me. But what happens this way then? It is lost. No, it is not the right way, isn't it? I am teaching, say, 80%. Now that person will become a teacher. He will teach 80% of that 80%. After a while, many generations down the line, it will become 0%. And something like that happened to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita's knowledge also, what has happened? Masses have got denied from it so much that they don't know that it's such a special text. It is there in front of our eyes, but yet lost, because loss in transmission took place. Not everybody knows the essence of the Gita. Many sometimes worship the Gita, many sometimes memorize the Gita, but what is the essence? Then knowing the essence is one thing and practicing is also another thing. So, but this loss happens, and this is a natural loss. But only in one case, loss does not take place, it is said. Anybody can guess? All in the parampara, it is always lost, it is said. But in a particular parampara, it is not lost. Transmission is also possible. Perfect translation and perfect reception is possible. Anybody? Can you guess it? Why do we say Vande Guru Parampara? The Guru Shishya relationship, that is beautiful because it is beyond what we can say transaction. Guru wants Shishya to become better than the Guru. He's not trying to say, I want to remain at this level. You have to come maybe 25% lesser than me. He says, become 200% better. That is the aspiration. No. Damleji says, you have to become better than me. He says, all my students have to become much better than what I am today. Because that is where, and that is what was there from the beginning. That is why even Krishna went to a Gurukul, no? He is Sri Krishna himself. Still, he had to go to Sandipani ashram. So now Krishna says something beautiful. It is disheartening to hear about the loss of knowledge, just as how we have learnt, and unfortunately our history is filled with loss of so much secret and so many knowledge. I mean, so many texts, so many disciplines also are lost. Whatever we are having is, we feel it is overwhelming, but it's actually a fraction. There were over 200 plus Upanishads. They were burned. The fire in Nalanda was burning for days. And why will anybody burn a library? What we can say, most worst of mankind, scum of creation. Those, what we'll see later on in the Gita. The word Naradhama is the word used for such beings. So they tried to break. But problem is, they thought everything is in the books. Source cannot be touched, isn't it? The source of the spirit is higher. That is something, and Krishna says, I passed on to the Surya. Now the beautiful shloka comes. He says, Sa evayam maya tedya yogaha proktaha puratanaha bhakto si me sakha cheti rahasyam etat uttamam. This uttama rahasya that was lost, dear Arjuna, I will share it with you. Why Arjuna is so special? He's got 99.99 percentile in Adhyatma entrance exam. Why is Arjuna so special? Anybody? Can someone guess or tell me?
Because he's his friend also.
Maitri. No, Maitri is a very special relation, isn't it? Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. Krishna says, no, you may be very intelligent, you may not be intelligent, it doesn't matter. He says, you are my mitra. So, can we say loving God is better than fearing God?
Loving God is better.
Yes. Why be God fearing when you can be God loving? What have you done? What sin have you done? No. You sincerely connect with the divine, you will receive like Arjuna is receiving from Krishna. A lot of places fear is instilled. Damleji was born in 1947, so that time the era was also different. Everywhere parents also would instill fear only. Children should not talk to parents also. Father to don't talk at all. That was the relation. So that time he had this little bit fear, at a young age. No, he had this fear for God, but somewhere he was not liking it at all. Something is wrong, but not knowing, because that era everybody was like that. They would say, do the tapasya, but don't speak another word until somebody gets sakshatkar. You will not know fully. And so he was searching, and interestingly, during his executive days at a railway station, very young, probably in his 20s, probably. In his early 20s, there he was going in the railway station, he found a book. That book was having a very nice title, Bhagwan Hamara Mitra. He was surprised. Arey, what is this? He immediately looked at the last page, who has written it. A young yogi had written that book. He was very happy, and he said, then I just purchased that book, and throughout the train, I was just reading that entire journey. And he says, from that day onwards, that journey onwards, Bhagavan became my Mitra. The fear aspect is not required. Fear factor is something which is not required, especially in our relation with the divine. Because is fear required in love? No, it is like an aberration. It is an aberration. It's not required. And Krishna says, Arjuna, you will receive it because you are my friend, because you have this love for me. He says, the same knowledge that I first thought, I shared with you to enlighten your thought. The king of secrets, to you too I shall lend. For you are my devotee, my dear friend. Such a beautiful shloka. It is said, no, you want to get Rama's darshan, Hanuman ko patalo. Immediately do the upasana of Anjaneya, Sri Ram's darshan will come directly. Because this is something, bhakti is something which is important. And it has to be cultivated like Shraddha, no? Bhakti also is an important aspect. Many people lack bhakti. They have great intelligence. They might have done great deeds. Somewhere bhakti is lacking. They cannot move ahead. We will see later on. Tapasvi bhyo adhiko yogi, jnani bhyo matodika, karme bhyash adhiko yogi means greater than the karma yogi, greater than the jnana yogi, greater than the, what we can say, all of these puns is that person who has learned to have this full faith, full surrender, full love and adoration for the divine. That is what Krishna is saying. So he says, you, my dear friend, our friendship is there and I will share it to you. That is why you are eligible. That is all, not no other special premium subscription or anything like that. It is just the Maitri Bhava. My simple question is, if Krishna comes in front of you and says, I am your friend, I am your friend, you care for me, so now I am going to share to you everything, the highest truth. What will your reaction be? Anybody? If you are in Arjuna's place. Anyone? Yes? Anybody?
Blessed, simply
Blessed.
blessed,
Okay, Dr.
simply
Vidisha,
blessed,
you said
overwhelmed.
simply blessed. Overwhelmed and blessed. Anybody else? Yes? If you were similar sentiment or a different sentiment, anything. Or I think everybody agrees with Dr. Vidisha ji. Yes, Beena ji. Yes, please.
Totally surrender to the Lord.
Yes, it's like, wow, I'm getting this opportunity. What more do I need? This is nothing more than this. The eyes, it's like there's a beautiful bhajan, isn't it? Darshan do ghansham nath mori akhiya pyasi re. My eyes are thirsty. I seek that knowledge, and you are going to grant it? Nothing. Pranam, namaskaram. That is all will come out of love. But look at our Arjuna. What is he going to say? He's going to say something very different. Let us see what Arjuna says. Arjuna uvacha. अपरम भवतो जन्म परम जन्म विवस्वतः कथम एतद् विजानीयाम त्वम् आदौ प्रोक्तवानिति. He is doubting. He is not having this means it's like he said shishyaste ham shadimam tvam prapunnam, but he's like, just because I have said I am your shishya, you're going to say anything and I will have to listen. Kuch bhi. Krishna, how is this possible? He directly questions Krishna. Normally, at these moments, we should be silent and receive, isn't it? But look at that, and this is also Maitri Bhava. Let us not judge Arjuna for this. This is a friendship, and in friendship, you can play pranks. In friendship, you are all of that is allowed. That is the joy of this relationship and association. It is a divine relation. So Arjuna is going to ask the most obnoxious questions with all authority, invoking that same Maitri. He says, Arjuna questioned, the sun god was the first amongst the living. Even before your birth was the sun's beginning. How is it that I can comprehend what you say, that you instructed the sun on the first day? This is a very interesting question. It says, Krishna, you were born in sunlight. sun was already there. Surya Dev was already known. People have been worshipping. How can I, even before your birth, means you're okay, yes, Janmashtami, celebrated, people celebrate, but they are celebrating sunlight only. When your first birthday, there was the sun. How can I understand? How can I even comprehend? You went to the sun. Did you have a time machine? How did you go there? Did you tell the sun? How can I understand it? And this question, what does it display? 50% doubt or 100% doubt in Krishna's words? Anybody?
100%.
100%.
100%, isn't it? Means here, you see, this is the difference. When Shraddha, this is something where sometimes verbally people surrender, but actual surrender does not take place. It requires a understanding, a growth. So here he's asking a question. It reminds me of my friend in school. He had the entire subject was a doubt for him. So when the teacher was explaining, if somebody has a doubt in 1 point or 2 points, it can be, see, this theorem has to be used here. This person has the entire subject. I don't understand mathematics. Now what do you do? The teacher gets frustrated, but this is Krishna, no? So he will not get frustrated. He has an answer. But Arjuna's question is very pinpointed. He says, how? What is the logic? I'm still in my logical mind only. I cannot understand what metaphysics you are trying to imply. It's not going to be of any use to me. Give me a logical answer. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. We again say Krishna does not say this is blasphemy. My Sudarshan Chakra will first cut your tongue and then will cut you completely for asking this question. No, this is nothing. Krishna is welcoming this question also with the same respect that was for other questions also. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Yes, Lalita ji has written rightly. Arjuna is representing us humans. Yes, we have doubts. We will have doubts because it is our nature. So thing is, we have to transcend. We have to transcend doubts. Transcending, how is it possible? When doubts get cleared. So we must ask questions. So let us see. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna tanyaham veda sarvani natvam vetha parantapa. Oh parantapa. Krishna is telling Arjuna. Many births, oh Arjuna, I have seen, and many times born, you too have been. The only difference is that all of them I know, but you are unaware, and hence don't know. So Krishna says, this is a simple difference. What is separating Arjuna and Krishna? Krishna is saying, Arjuna, you are thinking, looking at Krishna right now and saying this is only everything, but no, the Krishna that you are seeing in front of you has also taken Aneka Janma. I have taken many births. Arjuna, you also don't know that you have also taken many births. By inference, can we say we have also taken many births? Yes. Who knows? We might be in the Mahabharata battle also. Don't know on which side. We might all have been on one side or maybe on opposite sides also. But this is the difference Krishna is saying. You see, Krishna is saying, I know, I have become conscious. So I am Krishna. That is why it is said, experience that consciousness. Experience will give you realization. So here Arjuna is not understanding. So everything is looking very myopic and he's pretty frustrated. He goes on further. Ajopi san avyavayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakrutin swamadhisthaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Now the introduction of Maya is given. Though I am imperishable and birthless, the Lord of all beings, eternal and timeless, I descend into Maya's existence, and in nature I bring forth my presence. So Krishna says there is something called Maya. Maya is what we can call, in the simple terms, illusion. If you are trapped and you are deluded, you will not know the truth, isn't it? As simple as that. You go into a desert, you are very, very thirsty, you want water. Nothing else matters then, isn't it? But the guide is going to say, don't go, there's no water body there. I see an oasis, I will run up to that oasis. The guide says, don't run, you will lose your whatever energy you are having, save your energy. But you say, no, I see that oasis, so I will go after it. Here, somebody who's experienced, who's lived in the desert is trying to tell you, but you are still running there because you are trapped in a delusion. Only when you go there, you say, oh, this was a mirage. There was never an oasis there. Like that, it happens in life also. Many times, this is the role of Maya. We don't realize. Things go our way, we suddenly feel we are the best. I am the best. Everybody is worst. Or I can do this, I can do that. And suddenly Prakriti reminds us who is boss, and then we suddenly lose everything. Or sometimes in that ahankar, we do something wrong. So this is the delusion Krishna is talking about. This is Maya. We will see a little bit more about Maya later on in the Gita when it is going to be introduced elsewhere. But Maya also has a role. Many times because of Maya's mystery, people dismiss the entire world as Maya. This life is but a dream. So there's nothing in it. It's not real. Life is not real. And what is real? This is a very nice concept which Western movie directors have really picked up and tried to make so many movies out of it. But this concept of Maya is something Krishna is saying. This is there in the, if you see the Bhagavatam also, Krishna's birth took place. Along with that, Yogamaya was born. Same time. Both came together. That means Maya also has a role, isn't it? Maya also has a purpose. We cannot dismiss Maya just like that. It has nothing, it is nothing. So let us see when it comes. But right now, Krishna says, I, in the sense, Krishna is referring to his supreme self, supreme consciousness. He says, I am imperishable, I am birthless. The Krishna that you see in front of you was born on a particular day, on this particular nakshatra, at this particular muhurta. But I, the supreme consciousness, which is in me, which I have realized, that is eternal. I am the Lord, I am the Ishvara of the entire Srishti, eternal, timeless. I descend into my Maya's existence, and in nature, I bring forth my presence. Meaning, this is interesting. The presence of the divine in Prakriti is brought forth. This is experiential. Who will experience? It can be experienced by people who seek, and there have been people who have been perceiving the presence of the divine through the ages. So many times. Krishna says here, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. At all times, when righteousness is at its wane, O child of light, whenever there is a reign of darkness and pain, when injustice and entropy blares on the human side, my avatar descends into the mortal realm to turn the tide. Krishna says, my avatar brings forth its presence at all times. Suddenly you feel like hope is gone. Nothing, no meaning, everything looks dark. At that time, Krishna says, suddenly it all who are doing good, the righteous, they start suffering. When it looks like there's nothing good going to happen, everywhere chaos, everywhere it looks like there is no hope for being sincere, there's no hope for righteousness. At that time, Krishna says, once more to turn the tide, when the height of entropy is reached everywhere, it looks like nothing good is going to come out of the situation now. That time, Krishna says, my avatar enters into the Srishti. The presence of mine is experienced. Why does this happen? Next shloka tells, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Yugas, in many yugas it has been happening, is what Krishna is saying. This is something, he says, for the deliverance of the good who are oppressed, to obliterate the world's evil that has coalesced, to once more coronate the kingdom of right, epoch after epoch, I manifest my light. My light is manifest at different times. Somebody will ask, why does evil have to become so coalesced? Only then light comes. But morning also comes after night only, isn't it? After darkest night only we can understand the real meaning of dawn. If somebody has watched the early hours in Brahma Muhurta, how the sun rises, you can actually appreciate the beauty of this Srishti, how this happens. And most of the time it looks like righteous folks are overpowered, isn't it? Most of the time it looks like, because this is the nature. We'll later on see what is Devi and Asuri Swabhava. Asuri Swabhava is a brute force, and brute force always appears to be very powerful on the surface, but it is not. It is not on. But initially it looks like that. Suddenly dark clouds, and it looks like, what's going to happen? My brilliant sun is now missing. Where has it gone? Then suddenly bursting through that cloud, light comes, and then we see that brilliant light. Something like that, Krishna is saying, my avatar enters. Means if we want to look at, in so many experiences people have had of divine coming into the picture to turn the tide. Say, for example, even in the history of Bharat, look at Bharat's history. It is itself a miracle, isn't it? If we are reading the Gita today, this is itself a miracle of sorts, because how many forces were at play? How many forces were at play to alienate ourselves from our culture? Because they felt the only way they can destroy us truly is by shaking us from our roots. Uproot it completely. That was what they were trying. But what has happened now? We have gone deeper. The roots have gone stronger. Now nobody is going to uproot. We are going to show the world how to go to their roots. That is something which is going to happen. Bharat is becoming a Jagat Guru, whether or not people agree it or not. Right now also, Bharatiya is spread across the world, isn't it? People worry about sleeper cells of terrorists. You do not know how many Bharatiya, they are all like sleeper cells only. When the Adesh comes from the divine, like in the Nath Sampradaya, Alak Niranjan, Adesh, all of them will get active. Something like that. The higher consciousness is working. Something is happening right now consciously. On the surface, it doesn't look. But when did it not look good? All the time, isn't it? In our history, so many great ones. We say now, for example, if you look at the state of Maharashtra right now, you see this Maharashtra is formed because of Maharashtra recognizes a Devat. They call Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj as a god, Ansh of Shivaji, who had the talwar of Ma Bhavani. Divine only, everybody considered him divine, even Aurangzeb also. He called him mountain rat. But he said he can walk through walls. That was the rumor. Everybody were afraid of him. And how was it? It was a miracle. It was actually a descent. People say a direct intervention of the divine. Otherwise, it was not possible. For young children, 3, 4 of them, they decide that we will have Swaraj at a time when the world is still not ready for this concept. And that time, the force of the Mughals were there, the Siddhis were there, the Adil Shah was there, and new people were also coming into picture. Topikars also had come in. The Englishmen were called, because of their long, big, funny caps, they were called topikars. They were also trying to loot. To even dream of freedom at that particular time would be called crazy. Let alone just even forget manifesting that. Just dreaming also would have been called crazy at that time. Even crazier when somebody young is dreaming of it. Some experienced person said, "Chalo, theek hai, that person is having a big white beard, so many years of experience, and is probably saying something." But no, and then manifesting it. How did it happen? Well, he create that energy started flowing through everybody. And that is what Krishna is saying. My avatar comes. Each avatar comes in for a purpose. And that purpose is to turn the tide. Look at COVID pandemic. We have all faced it, isn't it? Many of us lost our loved ones also during that pandemic. At that particular time of the pandemic, it looked like it is over. Absolutely no hope. We thought India will not stand up again. Everything, business was broken, people's lives were lost, so many places. I remember one of the participants, one very senior professor, he said he saw people, his own family, friends, everybody, so many of them going that he could not understand. What's happening? My life has suddenly changed. That time, if you spoke about hope or dreams, that person would have got frustrated. What is it? It doesn't look anything like that. But now we see we have crossed it, we have gone ahead. This is how the transformations take place. We don't realize it sometimes, but this is there and consciously things are happening. Even the avatarhood itself is like an evolution of consciousness. There's symbolism in the avatarhood. Anybody can tell me about the Dasha avatars? Which was you have heard of the Dasha avatars, isn't it? Yes. The first avatar is what?
Matsya.
Matsya avatar, isn't it? Matsya is what? Aquatic, isn't it? Our science also says the first life forms were aquatic only, isn't it? On the Bhuloka. So what happened after Matsya? Next avatar?
Kurma.
Kurma. Kurma is what? Amphibious, isn't it? Aquatic as well as it's able to move on the land as well. So Matsya, Kurma, then
Vara.
Varaha is what? Terrestrial, no? Completely. It was the next stage of consciousness. After Varaha, of course, if you look at the stories, there is a great symbolism and learning. We are looking very superficially in one dimensional at the moment, or the avatars concept. But just looking at it also, we do get some link here. So there is Varaha. After Varaha,
Narasimha.
Narasimha. You see, Narasimha is the human or
Half-
animal?
Half lion, half man.
Half lion, Nara and Simha, isn't it? So the human consciousness is now evolving from animal consciousness. Half human, half animal consciousness, we can say. After Narasimha, the next avatar?
Is it Vaman avatar?
Yes, Vamana avatar. Vamana avatar was what? Prototype of a short one, no? Dwarf. Dwarf. The dwarf man. So the next level, that is Vamana. After Vamana?
Parashuram.
Parashurama. Parashuram was the he-man, isn't it? He was powerful and spiritual also. We can say Agratashtaturu Veda Prushtatah Sarasandhanu Idam Brahmam Idam Kshatram Shapadapi Sharadapi. I will curse with my weapons also. I can kill with my weapons. My curses can also kill. That is how his Tejo Bala is also there and Sharirik Bala also is there. Agratash Chaturo Veda. In front of me are the 4 Vedas. Prushtata Sharasandhanu. So my weapons are also there. Behind the Vedas are also here. So it was a what we can say he-man avatar of Parashurama. And after Parashurama,
Rama avatar.
Sri
Shri
Rama. Sri Rama and Parashurama, were they same or different in their own swabhava?
Very different.
Very different. Sri Ramachandra Krupalu, isn't it? And he was Soumya. He was Maryada Purushottama. What did he do? He established Ram Rajya. What is this Ram Rajya? Anybody? Yes. Ram Rajya, what was that?
Satyug.
Satyayug, okay, but it's like a constitution for ideal living, isn't it? Good governance, ideal constitution, isn't it?
Yes.
When Bharat was created, first thing was what? Create a constitution for the Bharat. That was important, isn't it? Because That will help in the next stage of evolution. Without constitution, we would not be. There would be a chance of getting into anarchy. So Sri Rama had to do so many sacrifices, but he remained Maryada. He remained in his own limitations, even though it caused him to have undergo a lot of pain. He said, no, I will. The ideal one. Sri Rama was a deva, and yet he was like a manushya, experiencing. He had to experience separation from his own beloved. Many people say, what is this? Why did Ram do that? They don't understand. Both of them were equally into it. They both played their role. This is required for the Srishti. This is the example that has to be set. Sita Maya could hold the bow in her hand, isn't it? Which Ravana could not lift. She was more powerful than Ravana there, isn't it? But so this initial stage, so it's something like that, like setting up of constitution. When Constitution of Bharat was made, is everything over? Or there was provision for amendments? Why are amendments made then? If something is ideal, why should you make amendment? Well, problems happen when the spirit of the law is not being held, isn't it? Upheld. Law is for the system of justice. Time changes, people change, circumstances change. So the law must also evolve according to the circumstance and the time. That is why many laws are being eliminated completely, because they are now defunct or they don't have any relevance in today's day and time. Something like that. Sri Rama set up ideals. You speak your word, follow your word. That later on went to Mahabharata.
Version upgradation is needed.
Yes, yes. You see, Mahabharata happened because Bhishma was like, I have given my pratignya. I will stand by it. His pratignya was to serve the people, isn't it? Serve the people of Hastinapur. I will not become king, but I will serve the kingdom. I will serve the king. Who is the king serving? King is serving Praja. The real ruler are the Praja only then that way, because for the Praja, the king has to do all his duties. So if you look at by spirit, Pitama Bhishma's, what we can say, pratignya should be for the service of Praja only, isn't it? And who would become the better Raja? Duryodhana or Yudhishthira? It was obvious. But no, my personal pledge, I have given this word. So I will stand by it, even if Mahabharata comes and big war has to take place. For that, we needed Sri Krishna. So the next avatar after Sri Rama is Sri Krishna. Anybody, can you tell me how many, like Sri Krishna and Sri Rama, any differences you can see starkly? Some of the differences in Sri Rama and Sri Krishna in the approach. Divinity, divine, both are equally divine. You cannot say one is more divine or one is less divine. That we cannot ever say that. But anybody? Differences?
Sri
Yes.
Ram was more godlike, and Sri Krishna is more, like a human,
Okay.
but with godlike tendencies that way.
Achha, all right. But did Rama perform miracles like Sri Krishna?
No, but he was like the ideal man who,
Yes,
normal
yes.
humans.
Eka Pativrata, like we can say Eka Patni Vrata, something like that. One wife only, though there was a king, that's the time there was polygamy also was prevalent. But he says, no, I will stand by this. My words, I'll stand by them, all of it. Krishna, Shakuni would say, don't listen to Krishna's words. Shakuni was, because he was a master of deception, but he felt Krishna is, and the problem was nobody could say Krishna said it wrong. Krishna knew the art of interpretation perfectly. And interpretation of what? Interpretation of higher consciousness, higher truth. Most of the time people get lost in that only. They don't understand the higher truth. The spirit of the truth is lost. Sri Krishna's work was that only. So if you see, that is why he had to use Maya also. He had to use different Leelas also to give experiences and to bring about a change. Bhagavad Gita is also one of the great weapons of Krishna, as powerful as a Sudarshan only. Even now, so many lives get transformed by the scripture. So the spirit of the truth that had to be upheld. That was Krishna's role. So in the avatarhood, if you see slowly, there's a change in consciousness. So okay, Lalitaji has gone one more step ahead. Before we went to the 9th, Lalitaji has gone to the 10th avatar. But who is after Krishna then?
Buddha.
Buddha avatar.
Buddha.
Yes, yes.
Huh.
What was Buddha avatar's speciality? A prince who had everything, suddenly sacrificed all. For what? I don't like this death. I don't like this suffering. This should not take place. Mankind must not suffer. What is the reason? I want to realize that. I want to eliminate it. I want to get free from it. I want to just dissociate from all of this. I do not want to be connected with suffering at all. I want it to be destroyed, or I just want to find a solution. So a human being experiencing nirvana. What is nirvana? Nirvana is like extinction into Brahman. That is called nirvana. Direct soul, directly aspiring and connecting with the Supreme Divine. That was Buddha Avatar. That was the Avatar number 9. After Buddha Avatar, is it over?
No, Kalki Avatar.
No, this Kalki Avatar is yet to come. Means you see, it looks like each of these avatars is like in a relay race. The people pass on the baton, no? Like that one avatar is passing on, ye mera kaam ho gaya, ab next you do it. Next. This kind of evolution is taking place, isn't it? So how is the Kalki Avatar? Anybody seen it? One Gita batch, we had a strong discussion almost to the point of argument whether he's going to come in a white horse or in a black horse. I don't mind if he comes on a bullet also.
Kalki Jayanti is celebrated.
Yes,
They say that Kalki Avatar is born, but it has not yet shown its made its
presence has been felt. Yes, Mehtaji is saying yes. These are also some understanding. But again, ultimate point is that how he comes is not so important. His coming is more important. Whether he comes on a bullet, he holds a bazooka, or he holds a sword in his hand, that is absolutely what we can say immaterial. But that is the avatar which is going to bring about the next stage of consciousness. Lalitaji talked about AI because AI is also looking very interesting. AI is actually advancing at a very, what we can say, prominent pace. Yes, Arpita ji wants to say something? Is it? No, all right. So, yes. So
In
what is
my
the-
in my DP,
Yeah,
you would see a small picture,
all right.
and I believe that is the Kalki avatar.
Acha, all right, Ravi ji. Nice. Ji, ji.
It's just my feel.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I can zoom it down later. So yes, there are different interpretations of who the Kalki avatar is going to be, how he is going to be. Some people say this avatar is going to break because each avatar broke a paradigm of the last avatar, isn't it? Some say multiple manifestations may take place instead of one in the next avatar. I think we have all seen this viral moments, isn't it? Suddenly, earlier there was some very funny challenges which used to get viral. Ice bucket challenge. Everybody started putting buckets full of ice onto their body, and they are supposed to, it seems by doing that, they are going to fight a particular disease. How many of people got diseases because nobody did an evaluation of that. But these are all unnecessary, funny, viral moments where a lot of things are suddenly connecting. What we can see is one consciousness spreading quickly, isn't it? But it is effervescent, after a while disappearing. Imagine if something really worth becoming viral does become viral. Why only pandemics have to become viral? Why not higher consciousness? Suddenly, it becomes, what will happen then? Then there will be a great transformation. So a lot of people feel this Kalki avatar is going to bring about a great revolution, a consciousness revolution will take place. So whatever it is, we see these are the avatars, they have taken place, they come at time when it looks like there is no hope. Suddenly there's nothing possible. For me, my avatar for me, I don't care Krishna comes in which avatar, I found him in my Guru. 13 years ago, I did not even think I will walk on this line. I had a very different plan. and suddenly life turned. That time it will look very dark for me because I was not having answers to my questions and they were really troubling me so much. So, but this we can understand at least ki chalo, when bad times come, let's endure. Bad times have come because there is going to be a transformation going to take place. Just hold on, just hold on. Many times we try to run away from these difficult moments. That is something which we have to avoid because these moments are also a challenge for making us strong. One small example can just tell you about is of a young botanist in the garden. He saw a butterfly coming out of a pupa. He said, "Hey, look at that poor butterfly struggling so much. Let me help that butterfly." And what he does is he tries to cut that pupa. And he cuts that pupa, and then the butterfly comes out. Unfortunately, the butterfly remains crippled throughout its life. Why? The struggle of breaking through, no, for transformation. That struggle only is giving strength to its wings so that it can fly. You remove the struggle, you'll not have that. So maybe in life, we sometimes feel overwhelmed with despair. Monetary, emotional, financial aspects sometimes become very strong, more than emotional. And you feel, "Arey, what is this? What higher knowledge, higher gnosis can help me? My situation is so bad right now." No, it's all right, even those moments. Sometimes some people have emotional troubles which become too much. Sometimes people have spiritual troubles also. Means they are walking on a spiritual path, suddenly feeling a loss, emptiness on the spiritual path also. So all these, when these moments come, we can actually remember the shloka of Krishna. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. My avatar will come to turn the tide. The help will be on its way. Experience it and use that for the transformation. That is something which we can probably look at it. We'll just look at 9th shloka and we'll stop here. Janma karma cha me divyam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mame eti sorjuna. Janma karma cha me divyam. Krishna says, he who understands my birth's divine and knows the way of my divine works. After death, his consciousness merges into mine and he relapses not into the cycle of endless birth. I think we need to look at one more, Shloka 10 also, so it will be complete. 9 and 10. So, 9th one, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. My birth and my divine karma. Krishna is talking about it. He says, somebody who recognizes it, that person recognizes this truth, and moksha is belonging to that person. It enters into the domain of that individual. The very realization of the divine. The birth of the divine, the working of the divine, it leads to moksha. Anybody? How can this realization help us in our practical life? The birth of the divine and presence of divine in the Srishti and a working of the divine. How can it help us in everyday life, practically? Yes. This recognition of the divine's presence, how can it help in everyday life? Is it another superstition? Or does it have a practical significance? Yes?
Shishut ji,
Yes, Ji?
there is divine because if you see any flower, we cannot create that in laboratory. Suppose if it is a
Okay.
hibiscus flower, that can be all these creations are done by God only. So
Okay.
we cannot rule out that no divine is not there. And
But
when we
some people don't know divine and they still go ahead. But I'm saying, what is a positive aspect of how can you become free by a knowledge? That kind of knowledge, the divine is there. How can it make you free?
We can we can practice detachment better. And if
Acha,
we have practicing
Uh,
that emotionally, it will help us a lot.
Acha. Any practical example how you can say practical detachment? How will you? Because sometimes detachment becomes a big word for some to understand.
It is not like navigating the emotions would be better if
Okay. Acha. So
look at it from
recognition
a
of divine.
higher, from some
Acha, you'll higher perspective you may get. Okay. Yes. Larita ji was adding something. Yes, ma'am.
Um, See, like most of the attachment is with the family, so when we understand that, we all are, souls,
Yeah.
so that barrier is broken. So most of the family members, they get entangled.
And
So
that attachment creates a frustration, that creates fear, that creates anger, that creates imposition, assignment, no freedom at all, isn't it? The freedom is lost. When you recognize the divine is taking care, I'm conscious of the divine's presence. His Ashirvad is
and
there.
and when God does, He does it perfectly. When we
Okay.
use our mental faculty and when we do things, we may not
Yeah.
succeed. And because of that, we get, we also think, no, like, जो मैं चाह रही थी वो नहीं हुआ है, तो like we get
Yeah.
frustrated.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
the benefit, वो भगवान हमारे लिए अच्छा ही कर रहे हैं. That we don't
We don't
understand.
understand. Yes. Yes. So what
Or
was so important at one particular time when say I got rejected from some college and I was so frustrated. Why did this college reject me? My grades are not bad. I want to go higher studies. Why is this happening? I could not understand it at that time. But later on, I see that's a good thing. Later on, when one college accepted also, I didn't go there because I had by then understood. But at that point, it looked so difficult to tolerate or accept it. So maybe that time it was not, it was something which I didn't really understand God's will. I was like, why does God not want me to do higher studies? What selfish motive has he got in me not learning or something like that? So this was my mental state, not fully conscious of a divine hand or divine play. But sometimes when you are conscious, you are able to withdraw. I think the detachment is the right word that Aditi shared right now. Yes. Look at the next shloka. It says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante sorry, Vitaraga, the 10th shloka, yeah. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mamapashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhava magataha. Thus exempted from fear and anger. Recognition of the divine's presence will take you out of these two emotions, anger and fear. When will you get angry? When your desires are not fulfilled. But when you have already offered to the divine, Swaha Krishna Arpanam Vadiyam Vastu Govindam Tubhyameva Samarpayat. It's yours. Fine. So when something according to your desires does not get fulfilled, because you don't have the desire or you don't have attachment, you will probably smile. You may not smile a big smile. You may say, Acha, theek hai, this is your wish. All right. It's okay. I understand it. So here you are not getting frustrated. So the raga aspect is lost. And fear, bhaya, who can lose? Somebody who has something can lose, isn't it? Somebody has nothing. Can you lose? You have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain at that state of consciousness. And that is how a yogi is. Everything has been surrendered to the divine and ready to receive, ready to perform actions which are supreme. Because for that, you need to become free to do what we call divine actions or free actions. If you have this weight, it's like you cannot fly. When will you fly? When this extra payload is lost, which we are carrying. There are sanskaras, some are jada sanskaras, some are past sanskaras, which we are also not aware. That has to be freed. So that is what Krishna says, exempted from fear and anger, with their minds seeking refuge in my shelter, they take the Sharanam. Tameva Sharanam Gacha. In various, first aspect is taking Sharanagati of the divine. It is surrendering to the divine, is not surrendering to the enemy. Surrendering to the divine, surrendering to a guru, surrendering to the truth. All these aspects are very important. That's why in Buddhism, one of the first mantra is what? Sharanam Gacchami, isn't it? You go to the Sharana of the Buddha, you go to the Sharana of the Sangha. First is Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Sangam Sharanam Gacchami, and then Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. So the Dharma also. I bow and surrender. Surrender is so important. So these ones, they have recognized the divine is there, then they will surrender, isn't it? It's natural, isn't it? It's an adoration which comes. It is not a surrender of a champion who's lost the battle and lost everything. It's actually a happy surrender. It is a joyful one which takes place. It's just that you are now free. And what happens then? Krishna is calling such people as wise ones. The wise person is what? Who has surrendered to the divine. Sri Aurobindo had made a beautiful statement. To be a servant of God is good. To be a slave is better. Servant also has some rights, no? Adhikar of the servant. But a slave has no rights. It's for the divine, not slave of anybody else. The Dasar of the divine is actually the Raja and Rani of the Srishti. Radha Maya was what? Servant of Krishna, isn't it? Oh no, she was a Das, she was a slave of Krishna. Yet we call her Radha Rani, isn't it? Tulsi Das, Kabir Das. Whose Das are these? These are servants of some people. No, they're exalted. They were the ones who had commanded the highest knowledge. So even the kings would bow to these great dasas because they had become the dasa of the divine. Tulsi Das had also said, no, Tulsi Tulsi sab kahe, Tulsi ban ki ghas. Ho gayi kripa Prabhu Ram ki, ban gaye Tulsi Das. So the grace comes and brings about the transformation. Ordinary life ceases to remain ordinary. It becomes what we call a life divine. The divine life starts only with surrender. Krishna says, such men of knowledge who have performed penance. What happens with this knowledge of divinity? They learn the path, they learn the way to go ahead in sadhana, they start doing tapasya. Why are they doing tapasya? For loka sangraha, for divinizing their life, to become a good instrument of the divine, to manifest a higher consciousness. You can keep writing n number of reasons. But the person who has realized, the heart knows, the Shraddha is flowing, the actions go in this direction only, Krishna is saying, and they have succeeded in divinizing their lives. We'll stop here. So, with this, we conclude today's session. Can someone summarize or share something, takeaways that we got from today? Anything? Yes.
Ji, today's session was very wonderful. Like, you talked about the all Dasa avatars, and
Ji.
while going through each avatar, we were able to understand like how the transition took place. And usually I used to forget which avatar is like I used to get confused. Now
Okay.
I get a clear idea on that,
Ji,
and lot of
means the avatarhood also is a conscious evolution, isn't it? So means this world is not something, it's just no fluke. It's not a random chance, isn't it? Things are happening as per an intelligent design. This Chetana is there, which is functioning continuously. We are also a part of that evolution. We are also
yeah,
part of that.
in the previous avatars, we didn't see anything like this. At present, there is so a lot of problems are there in this environment, but simultaneously there are a lot of spiritual work is going on. Like we are
Yes,
listening to Gita, and so
yes,
many schools are there. So
yes.
it is like a no, the energy is getting created
Yes,
very fast, and see lot of distractions are there. Like we can also watch TV or anything else, but at this moment we are listening to this,
yes.
so feeling
Ji,
very blessed that this
ji,
knowledge is coming to me.
this consciousness is there. No? It was actually there earlier also. Means what we can say in Mahabharata, there was one character called Barbaric. They asked him who is fighting, who was winning. He said, I did not see who is fighting. Krishna is on this side, Krishna was on that side. Who is falling? I was just seeing the forces move around. So there are forces at play right now also, as Lalita ji says, and something is happening. Probably we have to become conscious is one important point we can see, no? We recognize it.
And
Otherwise, what happens?
in Vishnu
Yes,
Sahasranama, they
ji,
have given lot of Bala Shruti. In that
yes,
Pranaya sadhuna is one of the Balashruti. So
Yeah.
I think whenever there is a lot of problem, if we chant this Vishnu Sahasranama, definitely we can see the next avatar may come.
That'll be nice. No? For all of us in our lifetimes, we get to see. But again, we do not know when the avatar has to come. But it will be very, what we can say, cool to know if we experience the arrival of the next avatar. It will be indicatory of arrival will show this lakshana also, isn't it? Transformation, widespread positive transformations will also take place. Yes, so there is this avatarhood. It has a purpose, and again, when you recognize the divine, when you recognize the working of the divine, you become free from anger, free from fear. Most of the time, these two, fear and anger, come into people and people become used. They become dasa of the anger, they become dasa of the fear. Instead of becoming slaves of these two emotions, I think it's better to be a slave of the divine, isn't it? That we can just go with our arms wide open. Okay, all right, who is this? Divine only, isn't it? Divine is not going to hurt us. Instead, divine is going to raise our consciousness. We should be available for that. That is something which we have to see. Also, one very interesting thing was we saw Arjuna is not fully convinced. That is to our advantage. So Krishna is not going to go too much metaphysics, too deep into metaphysics. He is going to bring Arjuna back to earth right now. He is right now in Patal Lok because of his emotions. He has to first rise to the level of regular consciousness, then probably experience the taste of higher consciousness. So with this, we'll stop. We'll conclude with a
One more
Shanti.
thing I wish to say,
Yeah.
like
Yes, Ji.
in
Yes, ma'am.
in Mahabharata, like I think Arjun must have seen a lot of miracles of Krishna, and now he is asking so many questions.
He forgets it, no?
So
It forgets.
yeah, like that, like we also sometimes we get some
Yeah. Yeah.
no,
Miracles, and
about
we
divine we
forget
get
them. They
yeah,
become too,
but some
we forget them in everyday life. We become busy for God. We become too
sometimes we
busy.
see the magic happening, and then after
Yeah.
again when there is a problem again we forget that.
Yes,
We
yes.
don't have the same trust.
Yes. That's a very nice point. Actually, we actually have God, I'm busy right now. No, not now, not now. We turn away, and sometimes big things happen and we just are unconscious, so we don't realize it at all. That's why there's one more dua is there, isn't it? दुख में सुमिरन सब करे, सुख में करे न कोई. जो सुख में सुमिरन करे तो दुख काहे होए. Means in bad times everybody prays to God. In good time nobody. But if good time also you are remembering the divine, you're having the smarana, then why will you have a bad time? And that is the truth. That is what Krishna is also saying in this shloka also, actually, where Krishna says, those who janma karma chame divyam, recognize my presence, have that smaran of mine. So many margas are there. They talk about having smaran of the divine. Atri putro mahatejo dattatreyo mahamuni tasya smarana matrena sarva papai pramunchate. The smaran is enough to burn all the karmas, burn all the papa also. So that is something. Probably we should recognize the need for becoming conscious of the divine, or at least have the smaran. We will then remember. So, all right, Ji. With this, we conclude with a Shanti mantra. After which, if anybody does have to say something, you are welcome. Hari Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyet dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tat Sat. Krishna Mande Jagat Guru. Jai Shri Krishna. Punarmilava. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Ji. Namaskar.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Any queries?
Hari Om,
Yes.
sir.
Hari Om Ji.
Sir, this particular lines when injustice and entropy bears on human side, my avatar descends into mortal realm to turn the tide. So, sir, is it related to the divinity sometimes we experience in human actions also? Like, for
Yeah.
example, in Kerala floods, we saw so many people selflessly helping people, and even they lost their lives in helping people. Or even we saw the squad of the army. They came and
Yeah.
aviation people, they had come, and like so sir, that my avatar descends into mortal realm to turn the tide. Is it the divinity which we see in the actions also? Just a thought.
Yeah, it is.
Or
Yeah,
is it,
yeah, it is true. It is
or
true. It is
he's talking
awakening.
about his own self coming
No, no,
into,
this is
like
divine
Kalki
will
avatar?
come. No, divine will come this way also. No, this is the way. Like we saw Shivaji, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was an avatar, isn't it? Like that in the, like you said, floods. The Chennai floods took place very recently. That time what had
Yes.
happened, same thing had happened. I remember my own friend, one friend, she's so lazy, she does not get up, she doesn't do anything. Absolutely. She was putting on extra weight and she was like, Bhaiya, I'll do something. And then you start doing exercise, it never did anything. She was absolutely most lazy person I ever know, I've ever met actually, among all the people. But she, in the middle of the night in Chennai, she has hardly little bit percentage. She connected with one more friend and they all joined, and she doesn't know the other person. In the late in the night, all of them suddenly have joined and they are distributing food packets. They arranged, they started making all of, like, the rotis and the rice and everything. They started making packets and they were helping in distribution of food packets. How she connected with my friend was just through a ordinary message which came on WhatsApp. Status was forward. I am in this place right now, and before her phone switched off, she contacted that person, went, and full night they were all helping. Went back to work. Now, how did that consciousness rise inside of a person who is not inclined to work also, isn't it? Suddenly it came, no? That is probably
Yes.
awakening. That is awakening. But problem is it doesn't remain sustained all the time. That these moments come. So it is like a experiments of the divine only taking place till the final avatar comes. Still probably we have no prototypes, or we have some experiments, or like in medicine you do trials, isn't it? So Kalki
Yes.
Avatar must be a big researcher, biggest researcher in the world. He is going on. His clinical trial is ongoing on, and his sample size is the entire human population. So we'll be watching a lot of experiments going on. But the
Right.
consciousness is functioning. It is there and it comes. And sometimes people who have difficult moments, suddenly they get courage. Suddenly they get strength to face those difficult moments. Normally, if that individual also sees, they may say, I will not have the strength to face it. Those are the moments which you can become conscious. Yeah, this is not just me. I have a backing. The force is there. I'm not alone. That itself is a great realization, which can help a person move ahead. Ji. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Shubhratri ji. Hari Om. Yes, ji. Hari Om.
I want to ask one question.
Yes. Who is it? Who is asking? It
I'm
is.
Aditi.
Oh, sorry, Aditi ji. Namaste. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you discussed about Swadharma, then
Hmm.
how much liberty can a person take while defining their Swadharma? Because it can be
How
very
much? How much
liberty.
liberty can a person take?
For example,
Swadharma.
in Mahabharata also, like
But
Vikar,
one thing about Mahabharata's examples we can avoid, because
okay,
so many examples we have Tarka, and we have opposite examples also in Mahabharata. Instead, you look at something from the Gita, or you look at from practical life. That would be easier. So liberty, that question, fine. So example, something like that you can say about Swadharma in connection to everyday life.
like anything if a person if somebody decides to do something which can be objectively not that right, but for them it makes sense. So,
Okay.
and whether they should
Like
focus.
I'll tell you one example I can think of is my actually it had a interaction. This is having a connection with Mahabharata also, and it was like a friend of mine was working for a organization which is distributing alcohol. He himself did not consume too much of it, but
Yes.
when he's working there, it's like I'm spreading that only. And somewhere, no, I'm not trying to justify or belittle that entire organization or people working. Everybody's kshetra is their kshetra, and I have no job commenting on which kshetra or anything. But this person had some guilt, and because he was my friend, and Some of the liabilities of my friendship is they have to read what I write. So I had posted a update on the status. There I had talked about Karna's mistake was wrong association. He did not do wrong action, but his wrong association became his downfall.
He
Sudden,
example of Jujutsu and Vikarn.
ah,
One objected during the Chirharan, but still was because he felt
yes,
that was his dharma. And Jujutsu actually changed sides. So,
yeah.
but it can be objectively, we can say that who is right or wrong, but for them it was their Swadharma. So is that right?
No,
Or
no, there is always one dharma. That's a Karna's mistake. That way, my friend's story is not complete. You know what he did? Finally, that question, he pricked him so much. He said, I'm doing something, I feel I'm just supporting something which I don't stand for. I don't stand for, and he immediately, not after whenever he got it, probably months down the line, but when he got it clear that this is against my Swadharma, he resigned. Now he is in China, he's doing another work. Now he's happy in what work he's doing. He tries to come and explain how now this new country is better. That's his understanding. But he is following his Swadharma right now, we can say. That time he was not following his Swadharma, and it was pricking him on the inside. Means your heart will tell you what is your Swadharma.
okay, so we should follow that even
And
maybe because at that time
yeah.
he had his family
Yes.
support or
And many times what we feel is if I follow my Swadharma, it will create a clash elsewhere.
yeah.
That feeling comes in. Because we assume that my Swadharma is not connected with the higher consciousness, isn't
Yeah.
it? That is where the problem comes. Now, you see, in a hospital like in Pondicherry, big hospital, a doctor slapped a technician. I'm sorry, technician slapped, vice versa. Technician, I think I had previously said the example. Technician slapped the doctor. Big frustration happened. Everybody, this person's Swadharma has got hurt, this person's Swadharma has got hurt. But highest, it's not Swadharma, it is Ahankar that got hurt. Their Swadharma was service, both of them. Somewhere, doctor crossed the line, technician also crossed the line, and then associations came. No, then they stopped. They escalated into a big fight. Association of doctor, association of technician, and then what happened is ultimately patient service is lost, isn't it? That is something which is important for both sides. So the elders from both sides tried to remind them what is our Swadharma. Maybe our dharmas may be different. Technicians' dharma is also doing different type of work, but they have to hold on to their Swadharma. They cannot lose that. Same way doctor also. That way even patient has a Swadharma, Rugna Dharma we can say. Has to follow the instruction of the doctor, otherwise the treatment will not go ahead. And when everybody understood their aspect, when they connected with their inner self, what happened is the doctor apologized. The technician also apologized and said the physical assault is not something acceptable. This line should not have been crossed. This person agreed. Let's call it a day. Let's forget it. We will move ahead. This should not happen. This was not right. I also agree. Both apologized and things went ahead and everything fell in place when that sutra was connected. What was the higher consciousness work? No. There was a good advisor. Maybe Vidur was present in new avatar in this yuga in that particular hospital, giving the right advice, and that advice was taken. So when we are aligned with the higher consciousness, all the things will fall in place. You don't have to, otherwise a person will get crazy. Arey, I have these. A student also has 10, 15 dharmas, isn't it? My dharma towards my institute, my dharma towards my calling, my dharma towards parents, my dharma towards my friends. It will become a very crazy balancing act as if we have only two hands, isn't it? We can't juggle too many pins in two hands also. So when you are trying to intellectually arrange these dharmas, okay, this is my dharma, I have to do something, suddenly something comes in, equation changes, then you try to again balance it. Instead of that, connect with the higher consciousness. You will say, "Arey, theek hai, a friend has called you for a night out or for a picnic or for some kind of event, and your Maitri Dharma says, I should have gone at least once. But your Swadharma says, no, I don't need to go right now. If my friend has to understand, I will just, you follow Swadharma and say, I thank you for that invitation, but I'm sorry, I can't make it today because of my work. You don't have to explain it, my Swadharma, and all that person will think you're crazy, you use these words. But you can say that. And if you are connected, higher consciousness will ensure that your friendship will also not be lost. I used to talk to my friends so much, and those friends would not listen to anything. Now I'm not talking to my friend. I've become better friends because of not talking. I'm also surprised. Even I thought I should maintain my friendship, and I used to try so much to reach out. I was not able to reach out. Now I hardly see my friend, and they're like, "It's so nice to meet you." Out of Swadharma, I met a very famous, like he's a good senior lawyer now. I met him after so many years. Out of Swadharma, for 35 minutes, I scolded him. I also was wondering, what is this? What did I do wrong? But something had happened. He spoke as an advocate. He was talking about something which was wrong. And I felt it was my Swadharma to blast him. So for 30 minutes, I was continuously doing that. And we parted. And I was thinking, hey, Krishna, what is this? I met a good friend of mine. In the first thing, instead of meeting a childhood friend, we are having a discussion which is heated. He didn't take it in the wrong spirit, but I was regretting it. But you won't believe, the next day, very next day, as I was catching a bus from Chennai to Pondicherry to Chennai, he enters into the same bus and we both sit next to each other and we catch up on what was missed out in the entire previous day. So what happens is there's a consciousness. The consciousness is there to help you. You're not going to fight forces. You're going to align with the forces, and the forces will align on their own. But provided you know what your Swadharma is, and to understand that, you have to take a step back. Vitaraga bhaya krodha sthitadir muniruchyate. Free from fear. Fear also will make you forget your Swadharma. I'm afraid of these people. Towering personalities have been imposing their force on me all times. How can I stand? How can I speak? Then what will happen? You will never be able to speak out, and your Swadharma will get compromised. Instead, take a step back. What is it? It need not be a fight always. Sometimes things go very harmoniously when we least expect them also. So our job is not to calculate the world's outcomes. Just our own heart, our own inner voice, and do it in peace. If you are peaceful, you will use the right words at the right time, at the right place. The intensity of the words also will be in your control. How much level voice has to increase, how much level it has to not. Everything, volume button will also be in your hand only. Otherwise, it goes into some other forces. Then that creates more sanskaras, more destruction and all stuff happen like that. So I think Swadharma heart will tell you probably in a state of silence. Yes, yes. Already. Hari Om. Namaskar.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om ji. Namaskar. Yeah. I conclude.